In August, members of the Green Party of England and Wales will vote on a number of available positions within the party, including a new leadership team. I recently sat down with Frank Adlington-Stringer to chat about his campaign for the deputy leadership position. This is what he had to say. Welcome, Frank. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Callum. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm not so bad. I'm plodding on. So, just before we get started, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm a district councillor in North East Derbyshire. I'm 27 years old, and I ran for Mayor of the East Midlands last year. I've been a general election candidate for the Green Party and also a campaign manager since my first job was in 2021, and I've worked on campaigns in Bristol, in London, in the West Midlands, and so I often joke that I've done both sides of it. I've been the Tony Blair and the Alistair Campbell.
Yeah. Brilliant. And that was quite a successful mayoral election for you. I mean, you came third, but I think you had 50,666 votes, which equated to 11.3% of the vote share, according to my notes here, which is pretty impressive. I mean, how do you think that went? Obviously, you didn't win the election, but do you see that as a success?
I mean, it was one of the best mayoral results in the country for the Greens. It's
Mhm.
higher than what Bristol just managed to achieve in their West of England mayoral election. We've got a better percentage than they did in London and Manchester. And that was coming from a place of never having contested successfully a regional election here in the East Midlands. We don't have a member of parliament elected. We've never done a campaign larger than a county council division. So for us, it was an enormous success, particularly given that we came from a place of being very, very unorganised in that election campaign. Our regional party wasn't planning on standing for election, given the enormous costs. It's about £10,000 just to get your name on the ballot paper and be included in the booklet and all of those things. And just myself and literally three volunteers decided, let's give it a go. And being able to beat reform, which was our goal in that
Yeah.
election, given that at that time the only region in the whole country with a Reform MP was the East Midlands, and it was Lee Anderson. And so we really wanted to make the point that hope can beat hate, and that we as the Greens can actually put up a strong fight against reform. And being able to do that and edge them out and get into third place was just incredible. And in some parts of the East Midlands, I think in Chesterfield, for example, we were only a few hundred votes short of second place in the Conservatives. So it just shows that what can be done if you do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, no, of course, and we'll get on to some of the big questions in a moment. But just for people watching and for myself, tell us something about you that we might not know. Put the Green Party to one side for a moment. Just Frank, tell us something about you as a person.
So I'm a creative person. This picture behind me, which you can't quite see, was my final A-level project.
Oh wow,
And so, yeah, I love to draw. And during lockdown, I had a little business where I used to make clay faces of people and their dogs.
oh, that's
And
cool.
so, yeah, yeah, I'm a creative person at heart. And had the world not needed, radical reform, then I probably wouldn't be here. Um, and yeah, so I love to use my hands to make things, and baking is another part of that. I really love to bake bread. There
Oh
you go.
wow. Amazing. No, I've noticed there seems to be a pattern. I've noticed between a number of the other candidates, but also just generally across politics, there seems to be a lot of creatives. My background's in theatre and performance, so that I'm an actor by trade, and I think I've noticed a lot of creative people that have turned to politics.
I've come to the conclusion as well myself that sort of politics is one of the most creative things that we can do, because it's actually imagining something that doesn't yet exist and trying to create that future. And I think that there's something really quite, I don't know, I enjoy that process of it's problem solving.
I like that. I like that. And there's a storytelling element of it as well, isn't there? With understanding people's lives and how everyone's lives are different and how they're affected by the wider political landscape. Cool. So, the cards on the table for you and everyone watching. I am a member of the Green Party. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to vote in the deputy leadership elections. So, um, as a member of the party with a vote, why should I vote for you to be deputy leader?
So it's a massive moment for our party right now. We are at our most successful that we've ever been in terms of having our greatest number of members of parliament. We've got over 800 councils across the country. We're running councils, and I think that this moment right now is really, really crucial in terms of being able to take that success to the next level. And this is something that's been on my mind for a long, long time. And after the mayoral election, um, people were coming up to me and suggesting that perhaps I should consider standing for deputy leader. And I kind of wondered what that really meant. And it's something that was in the back of my mind. And then the county council elections just happened this May. And here in Wingerworth, where I'm already district councillor, we put together the best campaign we've ever done. We had Natalie Bennett and Jenny Jones coming to visit us. We had Greens Organise involved. We had 15, 20 people coming to our action days each weekend. We delivered the perfect campaign, the Target to Win campaign that we as the Greens do. And in that election, we fell short and lost to Reform, who didn't have a local candidate, never knocked a door. And that was the moment where I sat there and thought, if we don't do something nationally, all of our hard work and effort is going to be wasted. We're going to miss this opportunity and we're going to be brushed to the side, swept away in a tidal wave, and that can't happen. And so I guess for me, there's been a real moment of realizing, actually, being a canary in the coal mine in some ways, of seeing what Reform, just having this national presence, what Nigel Farage can do, the charisma he's got, the way he can speak to people and cut through in the media is so effective. And if we can couple that social media, that national media cut through with our elections expertise that we've got, then we can really be a massive force on the left. And so for me, coming from a place of having worked as a campaign manager, having that elections expertise, having elected Greens for the first time ever in an area that's never had a Green councillor, all helping to get Greens into opposition for the first time onto councils, even helping prepare constituencies for general election campaigns that are coming up, working with big Green teams. I feel like I've got that range of knowledge and experience on messaging and comms that I can bring to the party, understanding how election strategy works, but then also it's a social media success, right? And I don't know how, I during the mayoral campaign, I kind of just gave it a go. I was like, I'm just going to try this and see if it works. And it had huge success. Having more followers now on Instagram, TikTok than some of our members of parliament, to me, still kind of like blows my mind a little bit how I can do that. And I just think having this big social media audience is obviously something that's working there, in being able just to talk to people authentically in a common sense way, in a way that people want to engage with. That can make the difference. And so if we can just get our polling numbers up by a few percentage points, rising tides lift all boats. And if we can do that nationally, then we can help Greens get elected across the country. And ultimately, that needs to be our goal, right? So for me, it's about helping the party take on this next chapter.
Well, you've mentioned a number of things there that I would like to ask you about. But firstly, you mentioned Target to Win. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, Target to Win is essentially the Green Party's strategy in elections for winning elections, in a nutshell. And there are many council seats up and down the country. We've got over 850, as you mentioned. We've obviously got now 4 MPs, which is it's essentially 4 times more than what we had. And there are many people within the Green Party that will say Target to Win is the only way to do it. We need to follow it to the book, and if we follow it to the book, we will win, and we can prove that because of the success that we've had before. Do you agree with that? And if not, would you scrap Target to Win altogether and replace it with something else, or would you use it in conjunction with other ideas and other campaign methods?
I think Target to Win absolutely works, and that it's the key to how we've got the success that we've got to date. And I don't think that we should take the risk of throwing something in the bin in a political moment which is built on, politics has changed, but it's changed because Reform are in this very populist moment. Mm-hmm. And that can fall down as quickly as it built itself up. And so what I think we have to do is adapt. And so we've got to really maintain our levels of campaigning, our groundwork, engaging with our communities. That's vital to success. I wouldn't want to, as a councillor myself, be elected in any other way than being the most engaging, hardworking person in my community. I think that's what people deserve. And so I think we need to maintain that level of campaigning. What we can do, though, is make that so much easier for people on the ground, the people delivering our newsletters, the people knocking doors, people putting together these campaigns. We can make it so much easier if we have a national strategy which actually complements Target to Win.
And what
Which
should that national strategy be?
That's got to be cutting through in the media. That's got to have messaging that works. I think Real Hope, Real Change was great during the general election, but there isn't really, I think, in the party at the moment, a set of messages which people can immediately identify us with. I think that taxing the wealthy is sort of cutting through. I
Yeah.
think that people know us as obviously being green and caring about climate change. But beyond that, what we actually stand for, I think, is very, very limited. And so I think having a real clear set of messages about what we are as a party, being able to communicate that across the country, not having fear that what we say in one constituency might upset another one, but being a really national party that speaks to people. And I think that the wealth tax is a really interesting thing to talk about because there's been a poll, a YouGov poll that came out this week that said that over 60% of Conservative voters, over 50% of Reform voters back a wealth tax.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Working people want the burden to be on the richest in society and not on them. And yet they're voting for parties which they think are going to protect them. And obviously, those parties that they're voting for aren't introducing a wealth tax. We need to make sure that we are the party that people see as being for working people, and currently we're not. And so I think that we've got a lot of work to do there. But if we can really get ourselves, like I said at the start of this discussion this morning, I shouldn't have more followers on social media than some of our MPs. We should be really well known, and we should be bold, and we should be out there and do things differently.
And in your, I mean, you've alluded to it just there, but in your campaign statement on the Green Party website, you say that you believe that the Green Party wins by staying true to our principles. You've probably, well, you have touched on some of them already, but in sort of a quick roundup in a nutshell, what are those principles and what do Green Party principles mean to you?
Yeah, for me, the Green Party is an eco-socialist movement, and that means caring about people and planet at the same time, and making the place where we live, this world, fairer, happier, and healthier for everyone. And I think that that is the thing that unites us. Now, obviously, the party's got lots of different thinking in it at the moment, and leadership elections are like no other to bring that out and to have good, healthy debate. And I think that we really have to remember what it is that unites us, what the things are that we want, our common goals, and recognizing that we don't just share that within the party, but actually the vast majority of people in this country, in this world, believe those same things as well. They just want to have a place for their children that is fair and equitable, and that everyone can be heard.
So last year, you were accused by the local Conservative Party chairman of being anti-Semitic and not fit to represent the Green Party. And the party chairman in question actually called for you to be removed as a candidate for public office. The Green Party obviously dismissed that and seemed to come to your defence. And I believe that this was in relation to comments that you'd made in a video posted online regarding the ongoing genocide in Palestine. If elected as deputy leader, you will be under more scrutiny from the media and political opponents than you have ever been before. You've already experienced quite a lot of media scrutiny, but that will increase significantly. Can you handle it?
I can handle it, and I think going through the mayoral election prepared me for that massively. The levels really were very, very different in terms of media access. And like you say, the Conservatives in the last local elections tried to get me suspended from the party for absolutely ridiculous claims. Their whole argument in that complaint wasn't actually that they were saying I was anti-Semitic, but I contributed to an anti-Semitic feeling by playing music to the video. That was part of their complaint. The whole thing is just fabricated, right? And it's trying to undermine people all the time and trying to find really frivolous claims just because they're desperate. And so, yeah, this is going to happen, and more of it is going to happen as a party. We need to get ready for it. I don't think we're perhaps in the place where we've always had that much media attention. It's something we're having to learn. I'm working on a project at the moment which I cannot tell you anything about at all. I really wish I could.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, it's with a major broadcaster, and I've been working with them for a couple of weeks, and a large part of that is inviting them into my world, into my home, and that's something as a politician, if I dare call myself that, I think is actually really important. And I think a lot of the reason why I've been able to cut through and get this social media success is because I'm a normal human being that's happy to talk about my personal life, happy to talk about how Brexit has impacted my personal relationship, being across, border restrictions, how, I talk about my dad and his disability. I talk about my mom and her small business. I talk about these things. And I think that whilst it does open up the door to media scrutiny, it is actually the only way to get people to realize that they can connect with you.
With increased media scrutiny, can sometimes come an unnecessary distraction. So, how will you make sure that you prevent it from becoming a distraction, and actually, um, you know, don't prevent it from you being able to focus on the things that you need to focus on as deputy leader?
There's a lot of noise out there, right? And there's a lot of media spin and headlines, and that's going to exist always, unfortunately. I feel I've got a very clean track record, and that's not going to be too much of a problem. I don't think there are any skeletons in the closet, so I'm quite happy with being able to represent the party and do that well. But I want to be leading the narrative, right? I want to be talking
Mhm.
about things that are important to the Green Party. I don't want to be contributing to background noise or into getting into petty arguments or fights or distracting from what the party's image is. This, for me, is about being deputy leader of the party, to
Yeah.
give to the party, to build the party. It's not about me. It's not about raising my profile. It's not about me trying to get into a better elected position. It's about the party's image and that going forward,
Hmm.
and how the party lasts another 50 years and is even more successful. That's what this has to be about. And we as a party need to make sure that we're not just reacting or responding to headlines, but we're actually creating that in the media. And that's something which we haven't done yet to date.
Hmm.
We're not leading the way in the way that Reform are able to talk about migration and be able to bring the Overton window across. We need to be able to do the same. And so we have
Yeah.
to be leaders in the media and talk about things we want to talk about.
And obviously, you're in an elected position already. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I recall when Carla Denyer announced that she wouldn't be standing for re-election, that one of the reasons that she cited was the fact that she wanted to focus more on her constituents. So, how will you balance being an elected councillor and also being the deputy leader of the party? How will you make time for both of those roles and do so in a way that doesn't sort of prevent your ability to carry out the other role?
I think I'm in a really good position to be deputy leader of the party. I'm an elected councillor here in North East Derbyshire, but I'm the only Green councillor on my council. So I'm very much in opposition. I represent the people of Wingworth, of my home, and I'm able to do that at full council every month, and to be able to I'm the vice chair of the Environmental Scrutiny Committee, and to hold the council to account on its record on our local environment and climate change. But that's quite a small role. I'm
Hmm.
not leading a council.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to become a member of parliament. I've not got a huge campaign going on. I am just one councillor, right? And so I think I have the time to be able to devote myself fully to being deputy leader of the party. To stand for this election, I've had to quit my job. So I was working as campaign manager for the Green Party. In order to stand in this election, I can't be employed by the party. So I've made the choice to leave my job to
Hmm.
stand for this election because I believe in it so much, because I know that the party needs to make the most of this opportunity, and because I'm prepared to fully devote myself to the role if elected.
I mean, that's a big risk to take, isn't it? Like, quitting a job so that you can stand. I mean, I don't know whether the party have said you'll have a job to come back to if you weren't to win the election, but how do you how do you make a decision like that to say, actually, I'm gonna sacrifice a paid position um, in order to stand for a campaign that you might not win?
Yeah, it's a massive decision to make, a huge choice, and one that I don't take lightly. But ultimately, for me, I'm doing everything I can at the moment to try and advance the success of this party, our political aims. And I've been doing this for the last few years. I've been putting this party above, personal success, right? Going out there and trying to, make loads of money. And, it's not really what the world's about for me. I want the society to become fairer. And I know that I need to make sacrifices in order to do that. And if I don't do it, who else will? And so I often feel left, feeling like there isn't much hope in the world and we have to go out and create that. So It's not a decision I took lightly, but it's
Mhm.
something that I'm fully prepared to do because I'm committed to this.
And if you are successful and you are elected, with Zach Polanski standing on his own and Ellie and Adrian running on a joint ticket, it's currently unclear whether there will be two deputy leaders or just one, due to technicalities with the way that the Green Party policy works on having three people in leadership positions, etc. So if you are elected, and we end up in a position where we have one leader on his own in Zach, which means that we need two deputy leaders. How will you ensure that you and your counterpart are able to work together despite any differences in opinion or aims that you may have?
That's a great question. And ultimately, the party has elected us. And so I respect the membership. I respect that we make our policy one member, one vote. And I respect that we elect our leadership as membership in a way that other political parties don't do. And that is a choice which I will completely respect and get on with. And whether it's Zach elected or whether it's Ellie and Adrian that are elected,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's me as a sole deputy leader or whether it's me with another deputy leader, I will get on and I will do the job because that's what you've elected me to do. And I will stand by my commitments, my promises, my aims, my principles
Yeah.
in that role and do the things that I believe are right and that the members have elected me for and to do in a way that I hope is collaborative with the rest of the team. I want to be able to listen to the ideas and to respect the others who have also been elected on the same mandate and find a way that we work together because
Mm-hmm.
we can all stand here now and tear each other to pieces in a leadership election. And I hope that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, come September, we're all in the same party. We're all standing on the same ballot. We're all people that want the same things, and we've got to find a way forward. So for me, this whole thing has to be about coming together for the greater good.
Perfect. Thank you. Leo has asked on TikTok, in an age where online communication is so integral, what is your aim for social media campaigns and how will you achieve this?
Yeah, social media is so important. It's increasingly important. And I want to be able to take my learning to the party and to try and help the party to grow its own platforms. But also, I've been navigating my way through the media, through social media, without any formal training ever. Right, I'm completely making this up on the fly. It seems to be working, which is great. But I'm
You're not
also
you're not making it. You're not making it up. You're repeating views and opinions that you've held for a long time and that you've understood well. I hope.
but that's the thing, right? I think having your opinion is one thing, but being able to deliver it in a way that people engage with is a not totally other thing, right?
Very true.
And anyone can record a video about what they think, and it can just right and
Mm-hmm.
but getting a video to be viral, getting a video to be engaged with, getting a video that people can connect with and want to share,
Mm-hmm.
it's a completely different thing. And understanding that algorithm, understanding what makes people tick, what makes people work, is like it's a massive trial and error. And I've kind of gone through that with the mayoral campaign and feel that actually I understand social media a little bit more now. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to work with the party. I'm really looking forward to going out on local action days, going and visiting people around the country, being able to put together good bits of content together,
Mm-hmm.
and helping everyone to learn in the party. So I think this is so important.
So, what on that then? What do you think the key is to good social media content for a political party?
I think far too honest. Far too often we are too polished,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes as a party we can forget to have a human element. And so people often say to me, "Oh, how can I, get better at social media? What can I post and this and that?" And you can repost some graphics and some memes and all that sort of stuff, but it's only going to get you so far. And what you really need, and this is what we as a party need to do, is to have candidates and campaigners who are really engaging, really exciting, know what they're talking about, have the skills, the tools necessary to be able to engage with audiences. And so what I say to people is, unless you've got someone who really cares about putting themselves on camera, on making their own social media work, that's kind of the problem, and that's what we've got to break through. And so, as deputy leader, I want to make sure that we've got a pool of candidates across the country,
Mm-hmm.
people who represent their communities, a real diversity of people who can stand up and they know how to speak the language of their communities. They know how to cut through. They have those tools.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just what I've tried to do, is just to speak from the heart, be authentic, be honest, and to do that in a way which allows people to talk about things in a way they normally wouldn't on social media.
There's lots of rumours flying around at the moment about the creation of a new left-wing party, potentially to be led by Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. Polling recently suggests that not only is there a lot of support for this, but that the Greens could take quite a hit if this party comes into fruition. How do you think the Green Party should navigate this? Would you be open to electoral pacts and sort of working together formally, or would you see a new party on the left as a threat that needs to be stamped out?
I think that we always realise on the left, I think we as the Greens realise that working together is the best way to achieve our aims, and that we're stronger when we're united. I think we all share those beliefs and values. I think this party, though, doesn't yet exist. We don't know what its policy aims are yet. We don't know the way it's going to be structured or led. It seems to have got off to a bit of a rocky start. And all those unknowns to one side, the one thing I do know is that I'm a member of the biggest left-wing political party in the country at the moment, a political party with over 850 councillors, a party with 4 members of parliament, and we need to do as a party, regardless of whether Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana's party exists, is to continue getting Greens elected. And we have to continue building and being a strong force. And if and when this party does appear, we need to be in the strongest position to be able to work with them.
Yeah, what do you think it says about the Green Party that I think on last count I'd heard that almost as many as 100,000 people had signed up to an action network that had been put up by Zara Sultana to say that they would help and support a new party. What do you think it says about the Greens that there are so many people on the left who clearly don't see the Green Party as that viable alternative?
Yeah, I think this is really where we're missing a trick, and that there is so much more that can be done and so much more outreach that we as a party need to do. And so the reason that I'm standing for deputy leader is to be able to make us be, better in the media, to make us electorally stronger, to make sure that we are known on our socials, right? To be able to get out and have that outreach in a way that we haven't been able to do before. I want us to be a party that Zara Sultana thinks she could join, rather than a party that she thinks she needs to set up her own separate entity from. And I think that this is something that we have to really be, is to be a broad church of eco-socialists, of left-wing people who want to see a fairer Britain, and that nobody feels excluded from that.
Do you think that involves changing what the party is already, or is it about highlighting the areas in which the party is already offering those things?
I think that the party's policy, broadly and largely, represents pretty much what I see as left wing ideals, and that those just aren't shouted about enough. And it comes back to that image problem, right? Of people just seeing us as loving to hug trees. And that's the thing that we've got to sort of get past, is that climate change is so important, that the nature and biodiversity crisis is of complete urgency, and we've got to tackle that. But the only way we tackle that is by restructuring our system, by taking on this libertarian capitalist society which has just completely allowed profit to come before people and planet. And we have to do something about that. Yeah. And we have to get people and planet. And so I think it's talking more and more about that and getting people to understand that actually this is a home for everyone.
Back in April, current co-leader Adrian Ramsey, who's also standing for re-election this time with Ellie Chowns, he took to Twitter to say that, like the BNP and UKIP, Reform UK, will disappear once voters realise what they really stand for. Do you agree with him?
I don't think that Reform will disappear on their own. I know that in the last month they've lost 10,000 members. Obviously, of their 5 original members of Parliament, they only have 3 left. They are a very, very hollow populist movement. And I think that, well, really, until the local elections just happened in the county, there were no Reform voters, really, because all of those voters were coming from elsewhere. Everyone else was previously a non-voter or a Labour voter or a Conservative voter. This is a very, very new party. And so, what I'm saying when I say that is that there are a lot of votes that are still up for grabs, and people are
Mm-hmm.
voting for reform because they're new, because they're shiny, because Nigel Farage is the most popular politician currently. He's the only well known politician. We've lost a lot of the big names out of politics. And so, I think that he's sat on top of a very, very hollow
Mm.
voter base of people that just want something different. They're desperate for an alternative. And we as the Greens are in the best position to bring that down and to pull the mask down and to show that actually Nigel Farage isn't standing up for working people. He's there for his own self-interest. And but just to say, we have a duty to do that and responsibility. We can't
Mhm.
wait for the house of cards to crumble by itself.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you've mentioned there about reforms appeal to non-voters. In the How to Win Elections handbook that the Green Party use, um, there's a sentence in there about essentially not bothering with non-voters because it's much easier to convert someone who votes for another party to convince them to vote for yours than it is to convince someone that has never voted to get out and vote. But reforms seem to be proving that actually, certainly in recent elections, people that haven't bothered to turn out to vote are actually now turning out to vote for them. So do you think that there needs to be change of strategy from within the Green Party in terms of how we approach people that historically haven't voted?
Yeah, and I think this is where we need to make the change nationally to complement Target to Win, because Target to Win, I mean, you're going to go and knock the doors of everyone that votes in the election. That's going to take you a long, long time. If you're going to do that of everybody, including non voters, in fact, for most people where we've already got councillors elected, asking them to do that is an impossible ask. They don't
Mhm.
have the volunteers, the resource, the time. People have jobs and commitments outside of the Green Party. I feel that's unreasonable to ask people. What I think is reasonable is to ask me as your deputy leader, ask the leadership team to go out there, do cutting edge comms, to push the party to the next level, and to be able to help us contact non voters through TV, through radio, through a great air campaign. And that can help to get voters out in the same way that Nigel Farage is doing. Let us help you win elections.
Mhm. And just one last question. This is from TikTok. This is Holly Boop on TikTok, who's actually said that they're not a member of the Green Party, but they do have a question that they'd like to put to you. What would you do to protect disabled people, and how will you aim to campaign to improve public transport so that it's more accessible for people with disabilities, especially wheelchair users?
Really, really important question. And a question which I find is increasingly being asked, I think, particularly given the Labour government's recent attempts at reforming PIP, that we need to make sure that we are a strong party that is standing up for everyone. And I think that I have a real responsibility to talk about these issues. But the thing that I keep coming back to is that we need to make sure that we've got campaigners and councillors across the country, people who are going to be MPs at the next general election, that are from a real diversity of backgrounds and that can talk about their personal experience. And that matters so much because when people see us as a party talking about things, that's great. But what people need to see is people like them in politics. And I think that we have a real responsibility. It's something tangible that we can do as a party is to make sure that we're reaching out to communities and that we're supporting campaigners into those roles and making sure that everyone can have a voice. Now, when I was standing for East Midlands Mayor, I made sure that we campaigned on franchising the buses, bringing them back into public control. I would want to see those buses capped here at £2 in East Midlands, which are not currently. I think that across the country we need to have affordable public transport, that we need to be making sure we're investing in our buses, that when housing estates get built, they don't get dumped there without a new bus stop. All of those things we need to be campaigning for, better public transport, making sure people can get around.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a very, very rural part of the world, and my dad has multiple sclerosis. He lives on a rural lane with a bus stop which is completely inaccessible to him. It's dangerous to walk to. County council seem to have no interest in doing anything about that. And this is why we as a party have to keep pushing, not just because of me and my personal experience with my family, but because there are people across the country that rely on these services. And far too often I found when I'm in the council chamber, I talk about public transport, the other councillors laugh and they say, oh, well, we just need our cars, we rely on cars to get around. There are people who cannot use cars because they're underage, because they have a disability, for whatever reason it might be. And it is vital that we protect services for people, and that is massive. Not just for protecting the climate, not just for making things more affordable. There are people that literally cannot participate in society equally, and that cannot continue.
Thank you for that, Frank. Brilliant. So we are going to have to call it there just because of time. If people are watching this and they want to hear more about your campaign and your aims as potential deputy leader of the party, where do people go? How do they find you?
They go to Rank Frank first, or they find me on social media on all social media platforms. I'm at Frank Adlington S. You can get in touch with me directly, and I'll be very happy to chat.
Wonderful. Well, Frank, thank you ever so much for giving up your time to Turn Left today. We really appreciate it. And break a leg with the campaign.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye bye.